So namaste and welcome to satsang today. And satsang is an event like this where we look at the truth of who we really are. But satsang really is also our life when we look at it, right? Where we might see a deeper truth in this kind of event where we gather together. But then our life becomes the real satsang. It always has been, where we're given plenty of opportunities to apply what we're understanding, where we're moving towards living from in our life. So it's a good idea not to do what I did, which was to try to separate, and this is my spiritual life and this is the rest of my life. That didn't work out so well. So just avoiding that, realizing that our life really is, the purpose of it, the highest purpose is to live as this truth that we are seeing. And the truth is that there's only one being, there's only one substance from which all forms, phenomena are made, from the most visible, tangible forms like bodies and planets and trees, to the most subtle forms like thoughts and emotions, and even subtle little life force energy. It's all made of this same one formlessness, the basic substrate from which the whole universe is appearing inside. And even our sense of a separate someone is just another appearance inside this, that you are. You are this. Whatever this is, there's only one of us. And you're appearing as this body that's talking, and all these bodies here, and everything. From the tiniest speck of dust or subatomic particle to the universe as a whole, that's your form. And that is what you are. And so satsang is really for the deepening of seeing that that is true, rather than thinking about it or believing. By the time we find ourselves in satsang, in any teaching, we're already beyond the point where believing in something or having faith in something is going to satisfy us. We want the direct experience of our own emptiness, our own intangibility. And once we've begun to experience that, we're going to want to live like that. And life then is going to ask us to examine our old beliefs, which our life will show us where those beliefs are, and apply what we have seen to be true. Can we be unsafe and unlovable and limited if actually what we are is this formless emptiness that the whole universe is appearing in? And the recognition of who we are and living like that might seem very far away. In our experience right now, it may seem just like an idea. But the actual way to bring it into a lived experience is to bring it into our living experience. Our life is either going to reflect our sense of separateness or our deep and rich recognition of our unity and our wholeness, the oneness of all life. And so with that in mind, I wanted to talk about something that's come up again and again and again this week from various people. And it was fundamental to me to begin to understand this on a deeper level. And that is our karmic patterns are, well, we talked about some of them already, this sense of not feeling safe, not feeling loved or lovable, feeling very limited, blocked, restricted. Wherever there's a negative emotion in our life, there's a story waiting to be investigated. And what I see over and over again in students, and it was like this for me, is that my life had begun to improve and change as I started to see who I was. Slowly and gradually, as I saw clearer who I already am, the formless reality of the infinite being, the one being, and then saw clearer who I am not. I'm not this separate being that doesn't feel good enough and never feels like it's going to wake up to the truth and all of that stuff. And that was getting applied in more and more areas of my life, because gradually we're less and less able to live from anything other than the truth. And like everyone else I come across in my own journey, there was I say one, there was two areas of my life where no matter what I did, these karmic patterns were still playing in my life. So in my finances, which were an absolute train wreck, and in some of my relationships. Everywhere else, it was starting to clear up. And my life was starting to reflect the abundance of seeing that I'd had over and over again. And if you just think about your life right now and just notice, is there one sticky area where no matter what you do, when that person says that particular thing, or there's an absence of something you think you need, or whatever it is that seems to trigger it, that even this far down the path, it's still not changing, right? There's one sticky area, or maybe two or three. Everything else has begun to resolve, even if it's only a work in progress right now. What is that sticky area of your life where you still just don't feel good enough, or you don't feel safe, or you feel blocked, or whatever the karmic pattern is that's coming up? And I wanted to look at that, because for me, there was a lot of judgment about why that pattern was still there, why it was still going on, even though I'd done all this work and had managed to improve some other areas of my life. And the truth was living itself as my life. And I still couldn't turn my finances around. And what most of us do is, like I did, when this experience changes, then I will be good enough. When I can finally resolve this karmic pattern and my whole life is reflecting the truth rather than the illusion, then I will then finally be good enough. And that's an impossible loop to get out of, because we're waiting for our outer experience to change before we feel good enough inside. But this thing going on outside is reflection of us not feeling good enough inside. It's a mirror image, because the inside and the outside, the world of experience, the outside, and the inside, the thoughts and emotions, are one and the same thing, showing up different ways. So the thoughts about an experience, the emotion we feel, and the experience itself are all the same thing. Our mind says, I'm thinking about this experience, as if they're actually separate. They never are, they're one and the same. And each of us will have a particular area where it just seems to be that it will never resolve, never. So maybe it's our body that's been sick for a long time and just will not seem to heal. Maybe it's our finances that have been sick. Maybe there's some dis-ease in our relationships, our career, our spiritual capacity for spiritual practice. It doesn't really matter what it is, but a lot of beings have this one area or two that are just like, it's just impossible, it feels like. And if you look at the things you tell yourself about that situation, why it still hasn't cleared up yet, it usually comes back to some kind of self-blame or self-judgment, right? If this thing was fixed in my life, I would be good enough. I would be awakened enough. I would be free enough. I would be, our whole sense of self-esteem is based of hanging upon this one karmic pattern that's still lingering in this one area. And what it took me a very long time to realize is that that karmic pattern is going to go on for as long as it needs to, and not a second more. So it's there as a teacher. It's not there as a punishment, right? It's not there still because we're not good enough. It's there because it's got something else to show us. And this one karmic pattern for me with total financial insecurity stayed right until the last tiny bit of illusion had gone. So it stayed, and it showed me all these layers upon itself. From the first realization that having more money isn't going to make me feel better inside. It has to be the other way around. And then it showed me that there isn't a separate being to actually accumulate anything. And then when I thought it would go, it didn't. And it stayed to show me that there isn't such a thing as money, actually. It's all the infinite self. And then it stayed to show me that there can't be any lack in my experience if I am infinite. If I am the source of everything, there can be no lack in my experience. And every stage along these layers of seeings, the deepening my own realization, I was sure that this thing should have gone by now. Finally, I stopped blaming myself for this and began to realize it must have something else to show me. And that process took a long time and a lot of suffering, because I was so sure that it should have gone by now. And the last thing it showed me, this financial challenge, disaster, whatever it was that it would not go away until I decided to love myself now, while it was still here, accept myself. That just because some part of my life I haven't actually been able to allow the truth to flow through that particular area is not a good enough reason not to love myself. And that was the hardest one to get, because I, like everyone else, conditioned by life that I should judge myself based on my outer circumstances and my achievements. And my mind wanted to make this awakening an achievement, right? When I can see the truth, then I'll be good enough. And once I'd seen the truth, then it upgraded that. Once I can live as the truth in all areas of my life, then I'll be good enough. And so if there's something going on for you still, you know, that really stubborn karmic pattern that you just cannot seem to shift, what is your narrative about that? What is the reason it's still there that your mind tells you? And is that true? What if it is a spiritual teacher come to show you something about yourself that you do not necessarily want to see? What if, just like a spiritual teacher in human form, it's not going to go away until you don't need it anymore? What if it's actually going to push you all the way to total liberation? What if it's the most reliable friend you could have, actually, even though you don't want this friend? What if it's there to actually show you that total liberation is your birthright and what you came here for? For me, that was a fundamental shift. That this is not still here because I'm doing something wrong. I'm not contemplating enough or meditating correctly, or whatever mind is saying, right, I'm not doing enough practice, I'm not good enough, don't deserve awakening, don't deserve abundance, whatever's going on inside our own self. What if you set it up this way somehow, actually, before this incarnation, to make sure that you reach total freedom, and that you wouldn't be able to take your foot off the gas until you had actually literally seen everything you needed to see? And for me, that was a very different reason why something was still going on inside. And it brought with it a lot of self-love and acceptance